What's up, YouTube? The 82 and 0 podcast. So, going to be ranking top 10 players of the 1960s. In making this list, I felt like I had to leave a couple of people off, um, particularly Willis Reed. I just consider more of his accolades to come in the 70s. He had his MVP in the 70s, he had his championship in the 70s. That's why I didn't put him in this list. Same reason I wouldn't put Wilt in the top 10 players of the 70s because he didn't play enough in the 70s, even though he won a championship in the 70s. But this is my top 10 NBA players of the 1960s. Let me know what you guys think down below. So coming in at number 10, we got Walt Bellamy. He's the 1962 Rookie of the Year, and he's has one of the greatest rookie campaigns of all time, putting up 31.6 points per game, 19.0 rebounds per game, and from 1961 to 62 to 68 69, he averaged 23.3 points per game, 15.0 rebounds per game. He was one of the best centers of the early 60s, starting out on the Baltimore Bullets before going to the New York Knicks, and a Hall of Famer, Walt Bellamy. So coming in at number 9, we have Hal Greer, and one of the most forgotten shooting guards of all time. He's part of the 1967 NBA championship Philadelphia 76ers team, 10-time All-Star, 1968 All-Star Game MVP, 7-time All-NBA. From 1960 to 1969, he had averages of 21.2 points per game, 5.6 rebounds per game, 4.2 assists per game. His career high was 24.1 points per game in the 67-68 season. An elite shooting guard of his time, very efficient. He had a career high 47% field goal shooting in the 68 season. One of the most forgotten clutch performers of all time, Hal Greer. Speaking of clutch, coming in at number 8, we have the legendary Mr. Clutch himself, Sam Jones. What else can you say about him? He's a 5-time All Star, 10-time NBA champion, 3-time All NBA, and he earned those championships. One of the most clutch performers of all time. And he was never afraid to take the last shot in a game. And he hit a lot of game winners in his career. But I think what people remember about him the most were his Game 7 performances. One of his best performances was actually against the Cincinnati Royals in 1963, where he had 47 points, 7 rebounds, and he shot an extremely high 66.7%. One of his other best performances was his last game, where he played against the Los Angeles Lakers in Game 7 of the 69 finals. He had 24 points on 62% shooting. He has a career average 27.1 points per game in Game 7s. Next up on the list, we have Nate Thurmond, one of the most forgotten great defensive centers. Originally starting out on the San Francisco Warriors as a power forward, he would also come off the bench at times as a center to Wilt. But after Wilt Chamberlain would leave the San Francisco Warriors, he would take over and lead the team in 1967 to a finals appearance, losing to Wilt Chamberlain on the Philadelphia 76ers. He's a 7-time All Star, 1964 All Rookie, 5-time All Defense, and he's the first official quadruple double. One of the greatest defensive centers we've ever seen, Nate Thurmond. Now, on this next one, I have Bob Pettit, and I know his best years were in the 50s, but I couldn't leave him out for his dominance in the 60s. What else can you say about him? He's a 2-time scoring champion, 11-time All Star, 4-time All Star Game MVP. He won a championship with the Hawks in 1958. He's 2-time MVP. and he's probably the greatest scorer of all time prior to Wilt Chamberlain entering the league. He's a career 26.4 points per game scorer, 16.2 rebounds per game. Really, no weaknesses in his game. Very strong, good outside shot, very efficient shooter for his time, great defender. Really, no holes in his game. Bob Pettit. And up next, we have Elgin Baylor. What else can you say about him? He's the one who saved the Lakers franchise from folding. He's a career 27.4 point per game scorer, 13.5 rebounds. Very underrated rebounder for his size. Despite only being 6'5", he got as high as 19.8 rebounds per game. Very efficient scorer, 38.3 points per game. There's a lot of different ways he could torture you. He had a great mid range game. He could drive to the basket. 10-time All NBA, 1959 All Star Game MVP, 1959 Rookie of the Year, 11-time All Star. What else can you say about him? Never won a championship, but you could always count on him in the playoffs to put up great numbers. And some people consider him the Dr. J before Dr. J. I think it was Michael Jordan who said something like that. So that's Elgin Baylor. Up next, and a lot of you might be mad at this selection, if we were looking at players going into the 70s, like taking those accolades, I might rank him higher, but this is where it starts getting really competitive and people might disagree with my picks. But we got Jerry West, 14-time All-Star, 1970 scoring champion, 1972 assist champion, 1969 Finals MVP despite losing, 5-time All Defense, 12-time All NBA. One of the most clutch performers we've ever seen. Uh, Career 27 point per game scorer. Well rounded, great defensively. Didn't really have any holes in his game. Great rebounder for his size. Great passer, great scorer. And you could always count on him to perform, even if his team wasn't going to lose. Even if his team was going to lose, he would step up in those big moments. For example, in the 1969 NBA Finals, despite them losing, he'd win Finals MVP just because of how great of a performance he gave. He averaged 37.9 points per game and 7.4 assists per game on an elite 49% shooting. Jerry West. Number three, we have Oscar Robertson, one of the most well rounded players we've ever seen. The Big O, Mr. Triple Double, Oscar the Grouch, whatever you want to call him. He's a Hall of Famer, obviously, 12-time All Star, 6-time assist champion, 11-time All NBA. He did win a championship with the Bucks, 3-time All Star Game MVP, 1961 Rookie of the Year, 1964 MVP. Interrupted Russell and Bill Russell and Wilt's MVP streaks. Only guard to win MVP in that era. One of the most well-rounded players we've ever seen. Didn't really have any weaknesses in his game. He could kill you on defense. He could rebound better than any guard probably we've ever seen. One of the most efficient playmakers we've ever seen. Also, if you needed him to take over a game, he had an elite mid-range, high jump shot. He could drive to the basket. He had a good outside shot. Didn't really have any weaknesses in his game. I think he's most remembered for his 1962 triple-double season where he averaged 30.8 points per game, 11.4 assists, and 12.5 rebounds. And he's also one of the most efficient guards we've ever seen. There were many seasons where he averaged over 50% field goal shooting. Oscar Robertson. So, coming in at number two, this one was definitely hard to rank because the number one and number two, you could make an argument that either one is better than the other. But at number two, I had to put Bill Russell. And the reason why I don't consider him as well rounded of a player as number one, although I do like Russell more as a player and he has more accolades, I have to give it skill wise to number one player. But Bill Russell, he's an 11-time champion, 12-time All Star, 4-time rebounding champion, 1963 All Star Game MVP, 5-time regular season MVP, and he is the greatest defender of all time, and it's not even close. He had 16 defensive win shares per game in 1964, which nobody's come close to his defensive win shares. He was extremely fast. He could guard the 1 through the 5. He could leap out of the gym. And he was smart. He knew how to block the shots into his teammates' hands. You know, very, very high IQ player. Great coach, player coach in the late 60s. Bill Russell. And at number one, we have Wilt Chamberlain. What else can you say about him? Probably the greatest player of the 60s in terms of overall skill. He could do it all. Great scorer. Got as high as 50.4 points per game in the 61-62 season. He's best known for his 100-point game. He's a 7-time scoring champion, 13-time All Star, 11-time rebounding champion. He's also a 1968 assist champion, 2 times NBA champion, 10-time All NBA, 1960 All Star Game MVP, 4-time regular season MVP, 1972 Finals MVP, 1960 Rookie of the Year. Uh, the reason I have him number one over Russell is although Russell had all the championships, Chamberlain was able to do it on both ends of the court. Uh, whereas Russell, his field goal percentage wasn't the best, even for his era. He wasn't a great offensive player, but Chamberlain, he kept improving his field goal percentage. Early in his career, like his rookie season, he averaged 46%, but by the end of his career, he was shooting 72%. So that's Wilt Chamberlain number one. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching.